Weekends with Alex Witt. The Democratic presidential hopefuls will face off tonight in New Hampshire for their third debate. The candidates are meeting after a fierce fight that spilled into the early hours of this morning. It started when revelations surfaced that Bernie Sanders' campaign staffers improperly accessed voter data compiled by the Clinton campaign. Welcome back to Weekends with Alex Witt. The Democratic presidential hopefuls will face off tonight in New Hampshire for their third debate. The candidates are meeting after a fierce fight that spilled into the early hours of this morning. It started when revelations surfaced that Bernie Sanders' campaign staffers improperly accessed voter data compiled by the Clinton campaign. The DNC then cut off Sanders' camp's access to the party's voter database. That triggered a lawsuit by the Sanders camp against the DNC in federal court, but the two struck a deal late last night to restore the campaign's access to the critical voter data. Joining me now, MSNBC national correspondent Joy Reid and editor-in-chief of The Hill, Bob Cusack. And with a welcome to you both, let's get started with you, Joy. As Bernie Sanders' campaign manager accusing the DNC of trying to, quote, sabotage the campaign, do you think the DNC is showing preferential treatment to the Clinton campaign? Are you getting that sense?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Alex. So earlier this morning on the Melissa Harris Perry show, I asked J.T. Ryback, who is one of the deputy heads of the Democratic National Committee, if there was favoritism happening. And he said, parsed it very specifically, and said that the board, that the members of the DNC are working hard to show favoritism. He was less clear when I directly asked him if the head of the DNC, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who everyone knows is a longtime supporter of Hillary Clinton, if in his view she was showing partiality toward the Clinton campaign. I can tell you that Bernie Sanders supporters feel very much like there's favoritism afoot, as do Martin O'Malley supporters. They feel the DNC has its thumb on the scale, to quote David Axelrod in a tweet yesterday, in favor of Hillary.
But when you add it up, does it sure look like it?
Well, I got to tell you, if you look at the circumstantial evidence, right, Alex, if this is a court of law, you have debates that now the campaigns would argue that it's not the campaigns that are setting the debate schedule, but they certainly are hidden under a bushel. They're not during prime time and during the week the way the Republican debates are, and you don't have very many of them. You've even had Democratic members of Congress complaining that there aren't enough debates for people to be able to get a good look at the alternative candidates. And look, Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat. And so if it was the case that the Democratic National Committee preferred, just as an existential question, to have a Democrat get the Democratic nomination, that wouldn't be insane, but it wouldn't set a great precedent in terms of outsider insurgent candidates. And J.T. Ryback made a very good point that he said he was with Howard Dean back in the day. It tells outsider candidates that at least at minimum you're not going to get the support, you're not going to get an equal boost from the DNC. So whether or not they are actively attempting to be partisan, the perception is becoming ingrained that they are partial to Hillary.
How about you, Bob? Weighing in here, how do you describe their relationship with Sanders and O'Malley versus Clinton?
Well, DNC has a perception problem. Just what Joyce said, and politics is all about perception. And certainly, Hillary Clinton is doing very well, and she is the likely winner on the Democratic side. But she's going to need Bernie Sanders supporters. She's going to need those millennials who are so excited about Bernie Sanders. So this flap, it really is the worst thing that could have happened. And when you talk about the debate tonight, I mean, Democrats, they're going to have a debate, and they're going up against an NFL game, Jets-Cowboys, and they're also going up against Star Wars. So, you know, who's going to be watching the Dem debate? A very slim amount of people. So I think the DNC does have to work on this perception problem that they're favoriting Hillary Clinton.
Well, you know, Joy, in fact, the conservative New York Post's editorial board is saying this is by design, suggesting the DNC doesn't want Clinton's rivals gaining any traction. So how does the DNC justify the timing, the number of the debates, and the placement with this? I mean, let's face it, Bob, he points out that the Jets-Cowboy game.
Yeah, and just Star Wars alone. I mean,
that too. Right. You pointed that out.
And the fact that it's on a Saturday night when people are typically out with their families, and right before Christmas. So I think the timing of the debates, which has been a source of disgruntlement from, as I said, the other Democratic campaigns, the O'Malley and Sanders campaigns, all want more debates. You have a lot of outside groups, including Black Lives Matter, that have gone up against the DNC, also wanting more debates, and questions of whether or not Democratic voters are getting an opportunity to really see these candidates, on top of the sort of conspiracy theorizing that's going on because was things like the company that ran the data, that had that data breach that the Sanders campaign took advantage of, or that members of it, I should say, took advantage of, is run by the former chief technology officer for the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2008, on and on and on. So I think that, and the Republican National Committee is having a field day with this. They were tweeting away that New York Post article and really accusing the DNC of partiality. I do think that it does present a problem for the Clinton campaign and for the DNC, because you need enthusiasm. It isn't just about the percentages that Democrats are able to win in 2016. It's about the enthusiasm. And it's difficult to gin that up if, as we're discussing here, the young and energetic voters feel that they're being done wrong by the party.
You know, Bob, the GOP debate this past Tuesday, that drew 18 million viewers. November's brought in 13.5 million viewers. 14 million watched the one in October. Tonight is only the third Democratic debate, and it is the second on a Saturday night. And only 8.5 million watched the one last month, which also was a Saturday, by the way. Should other Democratic leaders be calling out the DNC over this, Bob?
Well, I think it would be smart, actually, for Hillary Clinton to say, we should have some more debates, and that would lead to more debates. That would foster goodwill with Democrats who are not fond of Hillary Clinton. I think that would be a wise political move. To this point, Hillary Clinton said, listen, I'll do whatever I want. Yes, I'll do whatever
whatever I want.
But I think if she were more forceful, I think it could win her some points. She's done very well in the debates, especially in that first debate. Had she done poorly, I think Joe Biden would have gotten in the race, but she hit a home run. And I think that would be a wise thing. I don't think Democratic leaders on Capitol Hill, they're going to be calling, they're going to get into this fight. There's no need for them. But, as the pressure builds, and if Sanders and O'Malley talk about it a lot, which I think Sanders has to do more. He hasn't been really pressing it. He hasn't been pressing her on the email controversy. He hasn't been pressing her that much on the debates. He's got to press it tonight, and then he may get his wish. He may get a couple more debates. But if Hillary Clinton calls for him, it'll happen.
Well, of course, Bernie Sanders rather famously said he thinks America's tired of hearing about her damn emails. Remember that, of course, to your point. Joy, let's quickly talk about this bromance here. But
why would it happen if Hillary Clinton calls for it? Doesn't just that tell you that it's shady and she's controlling the DNC?